top of it. You want to start a lemonade stand, you don't have the money to do so, so your grandma says, well, I'll pay for that, Johnny, I'll cover you, Johnny. Here's $100, you can start. You have to pay grandma back that money. The bondholder has no ownership of the company. To get more money, you can sell half of your company and issue shares of stocks. We'll talk about that. Bonds are loans, or IOUs, that represent debt that the government, business, or individual, in this example, must repay to the lender. World War II, in order to finance the war and get all those machines and technological advancements that we wanted, right? Wars are expensive. The government, in order to get money, issued a lot of bonds, right? So you could pay the government money, give the government money. The government gives you a certificate, a bond, that says they will pay you back that amount plus some additional money, some interest rates. When I got my communion, my grandparents gave me a bond. I'd have to hold on to it in the future. That money would be worth more than the initial deposit. I should look into that bond because I don't know what the hell happened to it. Stocks are kind of part ownership in the company. We'll talk about what that is. Again, bonds are like IOUs. Here's my favorite example of IOU.
Listen, Mr. Samsonite, about the briefcase. My friend Harry and I have every intention of fully reimbursing you. Open it up. Open it up! Go ahead. Open it up. Do what he says. Harry. What is this? What is this? Where's all the money? That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs. Go ahead and add it up. Every cent's accounted for. Look. See this? That's a car. $275,000. Might want to hang on to that one.
All right. So, again, Dumb and Dumber kind of stands the test of time. Whereas stocks represent part ownership. If you buy a stock from a company, right, you own a share. I want a share of Apple. You become a part owner in Apple, right? You're giving Apple money. In exchange, Apple gives you part ownership of the company. You are kind of tied to them, and you can earn their profit or losses depending on how that company does, right? And that's what stocks are. You believe that for $100, Apple stock is going to go higher. You believe that is a good buy. So you're willing to give Apple $100 because you believe in the future that that ownership will be worth more than $100. Apple takes that money, they invest, they spend it on consumer goods, most likely capital goods, right? Tying units together. In which case, you become part owner. And if you've ever owned stock, sometimes the company sends you things in the mail where you can make decisions, like they survey. Hey, do you think we should do this in the future or this? Or if you're a large share owner, you have a large stake in the company, they can invite you directly to retreats and to meetings where they discuss things more, personally. Mark Zuckerberg is the owner of Facebook. Facebook is now a publicly traded company. People can own part of Facebook, but Mark Zuckerberg is the largest share owner. He's the owner, per se. Those damn Winklevoss twins that keep crying. Funds, on the other hand, they talked about in the video, that is a collection of stocks. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, is the manager of all these funds. He buys stocks directly, and you can purchase and buy a share in his company because you think his company will do well. Again, his company invests. That's what fund managers do, and they own a collection of different stocks. Selection Sunday, Warren Buffett is going to give $1 billion if you can accurately predict how the March Madness NCAA tournament will go on. All right, bonds and interest prices. Little tricky concept. Stay with me. Keep paying attention. Stop looking at your phone. A bond is issued at a specific interest rate, right? That interest rate doesn't change throughout the life of the bond. So if you own, in this example, a 30-year U.S. Treasury bond has a face value of $1,000, and the interest rate is 5%, right? I get $50 each year, for 30 years, for getting that $1,000. Let's say that the price level drops. So the interest rate kind of represents the price level, the level of inflation. How much in addition for that $1,000? If the interest rate falls and the new bonds are being issued at 3%, then people would rather have the 5%, right? Because now at 3%, my $1,000 bond, if I bought it at 3%, right? Again, this is fixed. I would get $30 as opposed to 5%. And there are different levels of bonds. There's some riskier bonds and all that. But if you like, you can sell bonds before they mature. If you sold the original 5%, buyers would bid up the price since they would rather have the 5%. The point, bond price and interest rates are inversely related, right? So the price of that bond, how much people are going to pay for it. Well, if it's a high interest rate, that's a good bond. The price for that is going to be relatively cheap. It's going to be lower because they can stand to make that. Maybe it's $50 or $800 for that 1,000 year at high interest rates because it'll get paid back in addition to. Point, bond prices and interest rates are inversely related. Big concept, just a few more slides. Stay with us, please. Here we go. Mr. Clifford.
Hi, how you doing, Econ students? This is Mr. Clifford. Welcome to ACDC Econ. Right now, let's talk about the time value of money. I have a question. Would you rather have $100 now or $200 sometime in the future? To answer that question intelligently, you're going to need more information. First, you need to know how long before I pay you the $200. And second, you need the interest rate. Time is money, and the value of money depends on time. Let's start off simple and look at the decision between taking $100 today or $100 a year from now. And let's assume that the interest rate is 10%. So what is the value of $100 today in 1 year? Well, you could take the $100, put it into a bank, and get that 10% return. And so the future value of $100 today is $110. The future value of some quantity of money is the quantity of that money today times 1 plus the interest rate. To figure it out for 2 years, it would look like this. The quantity of that money times 1 plus the interest rate squared. And for 3 years, it would be cubed. Clearly, you'd rather have $100 today than $100 a year from now. Instead of looking at the future value of $100 today, let's look at the present value of $100 a year from now. Well, to get it, you need this equation. The present value of some amount is how much it is in the future divided by 1 plus the interest rate. For 2 years, it would be that amount divided by 1 plus the interest rate squared. And for 3 years, it would be cubed. So let's find out the present value of that $100 a year from now. It's the $100 divided by 1 plus the interest rate of 0.1%. And that comes out to be $90.91. That's the present value of $100 in 1 year from now, given the fact there's 10% interest. So again, it's clear. You should definitely take the $100 today as opposed to $100 in the future. Now let's go back to the original question I talked about. Would you rather have $100 now or $200 in the future? Let's assume the interest rate is still 10%. I'll give you $200 2 years from now. So use the equations I showed you earlier to calculate the present value of $200 in 2 years. Find out if it's a good deal for you. The present value of $200 2 years from now is the $200 divided by 1 plus the interest rate of 0.1 squared. And that comes out to a little over $165. So in that situation, you should definitely take the $200 in the future, because the present value is more than the $100 I would give you today. So the reason you're learning the time value of money is to understand that money and time are related. And it's also going to help you understand the idea of compound interest. For example, if you knew you needed $200 2 years from now, you'd know to put $165 in change in the bank, and that would eventually become $200 in 2 years. I hope this video helped you understand the time value of money. Make sure to take a look at the next video that's going to explain T accounts and the whole idea of money creation by banks. Also, take a look at the unit playlist that has all the videos covering money and banking in the financial sector. All right, till next time.
So would you rather have $100 today or $200 in the future? Well, it depends. It depends on the interest rates. It depends how long in the future, right? When I first kind of reading this concept, it was tough for me to kind of put the present value of money in the future. It sounds like, you know, one of those Back to the Future type of loopholes that just don't make sense. But when you think about, you know, the present value, how much is that value of money in the future? So that $200, how much is $200 2 years ago? Today, how much is that $200? Well, it's $165, the present value, right? Because if you put that $165 in the bank with the 10% interest rates, 2 years from now, that $165 will be 200. So that's how we can calculate not just compound interest, which we're more used to. How much will $100 today at 10% be in the future? This is looking, well, how much is that future money? $500 5 years from now. How much is that $500 today? So it takes a little bit of math. Here's the equations that you'll need to know in order to get this. This is kind of for the future, how much, for the present number of years, how much is that worth? Well, it's the amount today times the addition of 1 plus the interest rates over the number of years. You can determine the future of any amount of money, so any amount of money, if you know the interest rates, that's the IR, and the number of years. This is kind of the compound interest. What is the present value of $100 in 1 year? So how much is this $100 going to be in a year if the interest rate is 10? Well, let's look. Let's plug in the $100 today times the interest rate, 1 plus 0.1, 1.1. 1.1 times 100 equals 110. That's the future value of the $100 a year from now. If the interest rate is 10, then the future value of $100 is 110. Right? What is that $100 worth a year from now? Well, if we know the interest rates, we can figure that out. On the flip side, this is your last slide. Thank you guys for being a good audience. The present value. Well, how much is the money today if we know how much that we want in the future, right? So how much is $200 today, or how much is that $100, today if we know what $100 a year from now? So this is the flip side, the present value of the $100 in 1 year. So you use the equation, the number, the value over the 1 plus the interest rates over the number of years. So if the interest rate is 10%, right, and we want to know how much $100 a year from now is worth today, we can figure that out by some number, right, times 10%, the interest, right? If we did $90 times 91 times 1.1, if we multiply this, do some simple algebra, that's going to give us the $100. So this means that the future value of $90.91 when the interest rate is 10% is $100. Now, if you're a little confused by that, that's okay. Really kind of wrap your head around what it's asking. The present value. How much is that $10,000 100 years ago? How much is $10,000 today? Well, if we look at the interest rates, we can kind of work backwards. I do ask you to do some of these problems in the reading to better have you guys understand them. So thank you for being a good audience. I apologize that it was kind of broken into segments. Hopefully you could hear everything. Hopefully you could take notes. The PowerPoint is online presently as we speak. Today is Tuesday. The textbook reading that you got after the test, please spend the rest of the period doing that, reading it. You're going to take a sheet of Cornell notes on all the reading, just one sheet. You'll answer the questions from the reading in the packet. Both the Cornell notes as well as the answers to the packet will be due on Thursday. There will also be a relatively easy quiz on Thursday just to kind of make sure that you were paying attention so that you understand the concepts, you're getting them, you're not just wasting today. So that is Thursday. The Cornell notes, the answers, the quiz. Please spend the rest of the period working diligently. Again, this will be homework should you not finish, but do finish so that there's no homework. Thank you guys for being a good audience. I look forward to seeing you Thursday. Thanks. Bye.